This is Stuart Talley, here to do another update on the DePuy Pinnacle metal-on-metal hip trial. As many of you know, there was a verdict in the case a few weeks ago in favor of the 5 plaintiffs that had a case tried to a single jury. Since then, DePuy and Johnson & Johnson has put a lot in the media about their chances on appeal, and there's been a lot of discussion about the appeal and whether DePuy and Johnson & Johnson will win. And so the reason I wanted to do this video was to provide an update and some analysis on what the chances are that DePuy and Johnson will win on appeal. It's very difficult to say what an appellate court will do. What I can tell you is that the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is where the appeal will be heard, that's the court in Texas, is notoriously a very conservative jurisdiction. It's not a very good appellate court for plaintiffs' attorneys and plaintiffs. However, that being said, there's a couple of important things to remember. First, the judge who decided this case, the trial court judge, is a very, very well-respected conservative judge. He was a judge appointed by George W. Bush. He's been on the bench for a long time. And he, like I said, he's very well respected. The second thing is that one of the big arguments that Johnson & Johnson makes, and you see this repeated in the media over and over, is the fact about how unfair it was that 5 plaintiffs got to try their case in a single trial. But the problem with that is that there is a lot of authority that judges have the ability to consolidate cases for trial for judicial economy. Meaning if it's quicker, cheaper, easier for the judicial system to try groups of plaintiffs together in one trial, it is permitted. If you look at sort of the status of the litigation and what would happen if you had one trial for all 7,000 people, individual trials, it would take 130 years to try these cases. And so I think that argument that DePuy and Johnson are likely to make at the appellate court is probably not going to go very far, because an appellate court that determined that multi-plaintiff trials are impermissible would basically open the door for unlimited, inefficient litigation that could last years and years in cases like this. So I don't think that's going to go very far. The other thing DePuy and Johnson have mentioned in the media is the size of the punitive damage award. First of all, under Texas law, those punitive damages will be reduced. The amount and extent of the reduction is a little unclear right now, but it will be substantially reduced. The other thing is, even if it wasn't reduced, you have to look at the relationship of the actual damages to the punitive damages. That's the standard that the court will use to determine if the punitive damages were too much. And in this case, what you have is a situation where the punitive damages were just 3 times the amount of the compensatory damages. That's not a big number. The U.S. Supreme Court has used 10 times as a benchmark, where a punitive damage award that is more than 10 times may be too high. But here we only have 3 times. The amount of the punitive damage award is only 0.3% of Johnson & Johnson's net worth. So it's not one of these runaway juries with a crazy punitive damage award that is going to far exceed what is rational, so to speak. Now, the other thing that people have mentioned is, you know, is this jury, is there going to be a good argument that the jury was confused or misled in the litigation because there were so many plaintiffs being tried and there was a lot of evidence introduced? I think what's important to know is this is a very, very intelligent jury. There were several professionals, PhDs, people on this jury that aren't going to be confused. They're not going to be bamboozled. This was a good jury. A jury that the defendants probably would like before the trial started. You know, where is this going to come down? It's very difficult to say. There were a lot of very controversial rulings that were made during the trial. How an appellate court will decide those, it's difficult to know, but I think that what people are reading about Johnson & Johnson's chances of success on appeal may be a little overstated by Johnson & Johnson. So stay tuned. When there is another development, we will keep you updated. The next thing that's going to happen is Johnson & Johnson will be filing motions for new trial, motions, probably another motion for a mistrial. They filed 7 or 8 of those during the trial. They're going to be filing motions to have the jury verdict overturned, and all those go to the trial court. It's very, very unlikely any of those motions will go anywhere, and the real decisions are going to be made at the appellate court. So stay tuned. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call on the phone number on the screen, or you can fill out one of our online forms and a lawyer will get right back to you.